Come on, come on, come on. This is a Wenji M9 and this is a Mercedes-Benz GLE 450. One is a domestic panoramic intelligent flagship SUV and the other is a traditional luxury SUV. So which one has stronger off-road performance? I will test it shortly. These two cars are actually not suitable for off-road terrain, but as an APA car fan who loves off-roading, there's no reason I can't handle them. Today, we don't have MT tires nor a winch nor nitrogen shock absorbers. It's purely a factory test to see how their off-road capabilities compare. Let's first look at the data. The Wenji M9 comes factory-equipped with Pirelli PZ0E tires, which are specially developed by Pirelli for electric vehicles. They focus mainly on comfort and quietness. Also, an EV like the M9 needs to ensure sufficient grip because with 675 Nm of torque, if it can't hold the ground, it would be a scary situation. The wheels are 21 inches front and rear, with widths of 265 at the front and 285 at the rear, both with a 45 aspect ratio. Now let's look at the GLE. It comes factory-equipped with Continental CSC5 tires, which are high-performance tires. Both front and rear wheels are 20 inches with a specification of 275/50 at the front. Besides tires, a very important factor for off-roading is the track width. A wider track offers better overall vehicle stability, so many off-road enthusiasts modify their wheels to have a slight positive or even negative offset, but that's beyond today's scope. We are only looking at factory setups. The Wenji M9 has a larger overall size than the GLE. Its front track width is also wider than the GLE's. Regarding the chassis, the GLE uses a front double wishbone and rear multilink suspension, a structure refined over decades with solid mechanical fundamentals. No need to elaborate, very robust. The Wenji M9 uses the same structure but with an aluminum alloy touring chassis that offers higher strength and lighter unsprung mass. Although it's not a traditional hardcore off-roader, the lighter unsprung mass is a clear advantage. This means when you drive on rough roads, the wheels can better follow the uneven solid surface. Longer contact time and larger contact area mean more stability and smaller, more controllable shocks. Combined with its B4 dual-chamber air suspension and CDC variable main shock absorbers, I personally guess its off-road performance shouldn't be too bad. Enough talking, I can't wait. Let's go test it right now. Okay, let's start by testing the Wenji M9 on a steep climb. Some might notice that the M9's ground clearance isn't very high. Won't it suffer on steep slopes? I can only say you noticed one thing, but it's actually not a problem. Let me show you. Inside the car, we adjust the suspension to the highest setting. The air suspension will automatically lift the vehicle to increase ground clearance. Of course, when off-roading, remember to switch it back to standard mode. Okay, now let's go straight at it. Since it has dual front and rear motors, it's definitely a high-power player. But here I think power isn't the key. The most important thing is the dual motors and four-wheel drive delivering instant torque, which is really incredible. If you press a bit harder, you can feel the tires slipping, but it's no big deal. It has a dynamic adaptive torque system that distributes torque between front and rear based on sensors, preventing constant wheel spin. The overall startup is much smoother. The climbing dynamics are very linear, and it feels easy to ascend. This is beyond my expectation because traditionally I think an off-road vehicle must have AT tires to handle this kind of muddy road. But it actually climbed this muddy slope. That's a lot of mud and it still managed to go up. This really exceeds my expectations. Normally, even off-road vehicles with AT tires would have to be careful on this road. While I'm not exaggerating or criticizing, this really is impressive. Now we're going downhill. Because of the rain, the muddy climbing section has turned into a slippery mud state. I originally thought it would be hard, but after the rain it's even harder. Driving to this point, I can't see the road ahead at all. I have to rely on the 360-degree camera to drive because not only is it muddy, but right ahead is a cliff with a curve beside it. I have to ensure the front of the car doesn't push outward for the vehicle to safely descend. The climbing ability and performance on such a low traction section really surprised me, and we're using road tires, not AT or MT tires. If it had good tires, I wouldn't be surprised it could climb, but with road tires on slippery mud, it still climbs so steadily without giving me any dangerous feeling. This completely surprised me. Okay, next we test the GLE. Its four-wheel drive is rear-biased, and I think it still has enough low-end torque and climbing power, so now we're tackling a relatively simple 10-finger slope. Driving it, I actually feel the Wenji M9 is much more comfortable than this GLE. Also, noise insulation and such are much better in the M9. The GLE still feels a bit stiff and hard. Okay, now we're going up the slope to see if it can climb. Why is this slope so difficult? Traction control keeps intervening. In this section, I didn't turn off traction control. It actually can't get up here, it's stuck. Okay, it eventually made it up, but the process felt very struggling. The biggest difficulty of this slope is the steep angle and low traction, which really tests the dynamic torque distribution of this car. Let's move to the second test, the axle articulation, to see how this car performs on extreme articulation. Okay, the second test is the articulation. Let's start with the Wenji M9. Honestly, I think the M9 is a bit disadvantaged here because its wheelbase is too long, 3.1 meters. I think this affects its approachability a bit. Also, as everyone learned in physics, the longer the wheelbase, the longer the diagonal, which easily creates a longer lever arm. It's like using a longer wrench to easily lift the opposite tire. When your car is lifted and the wheel is off the ground, if there isn't a good locking differential or mechanical system, it's very difficult to get unstuck. So this articulation test is very, very challenging. I saw it's not just articulation, it also has some slipping, so I think even hardcore SUVs might not get through unless they have a very large suspension travel. Now let's try. I think the Wenji M9 probably can't get through. This is really hard and on a slope with slippery mud. Now the wheels are already off the ground, it's clawing up, no big problem. Although it doesn't have a traditional mechanical locking structure, its four-wheel drive electric control response is very fast. Almost instantly you can feel the torque distribution working. This climb is really hard, but it made it up, throttle on. Amazing, now we're at the top of this slope and won't go any further because there's a big ridge and a cliff beside it, which is too dangerous. I think its four-wheel drive response speed really surprised me. It's almost instantaneous to feel the torque distribution working. Compared to traditional differentials, its performance seems to have an advantage. Because on roads like this with mud and slopes, it's really tough for hardcore off-road vehicles to climb. And this car still uses road tires, which really surprised me. Stability is very strong. The whole car is sliding but controlled. I'm curious how the GLE will perform. I feel if the GLE's torque distribution system isn't good, there's a big risk. I'm a bit hesitant to test it, but how do we know without testing both cars? So let's take the risk. Next, we'll test the GLE on articulation. Some might say the GLE now has a 4x4i system instead of a full mechanical 4x4. Compared to the old full mechanical 4x4, is it downgraded? Strictly speaking, the early full 4x4 wasn't pure mechanical hard connection either. It mainly relied on electronic control to distribute power. The current GLE uses a multi-plate clutch structure. Let's see how this system performs on articulation. Actually, I still feel this articulation test is very dangerous because there's too much mud. This car has almost no grip. Now let's turn off the traction control and see if it can climb. It can't, completely stuck. I feel it's extremely dangerous. Wow. Extremely dangerous? I think this is really too dangerous because I can't get up, I'm stuck and there's mud both up and down. I'm very worried the car might get damaged or crash if I can't control it well when revering. So we'll end the articulation test here. It's just too dangerous. Now not to mention the articulation when revering down this slope. Due to the slippery ground and tire grip, the car couldn't reverse down normally. This slope is too steep and the ground is all mud, so this test is a failure and I still have to rescue the car. Okay, today's off-road experience ends here. Let me share my feelings. First, the Mercedes-Benz GLE 450 can still give you a bit of the traditional driving pleasure in this off-road scenario, but the Wenji M9 feels completely different. Whether driving or riding, it gives you a much more relaxed feeling. You don't need to be tense. Even on rough roads, it turns the rough road into a more relaxing enjoyment. Although we rarely encounter such extreme terrain in daily life, real tests under extreme conditions show that the Wenji can always give you steady safety, and safety is the greatest luxury. Okay, that's all for this video. Welcome to share your opinions in the comments and bullet chat. If you like it, please give me a triple like. I'm Lulu T. See you next time.